Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast hosted by Concept 3D. If you like our content, please follow and subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you may be listening to us today. My name is Shiro Tori, and I will be your host today. And I'm really looking forward to talking about why you should not be sleeping on starting an official university podcast. And for the conversation, I'm super excited to have Kate Young join us today. Kate is the host, writer, and producer of This is Purdue podcast, Purdue's official university podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here and chat more about higher ed podcasting.
Okay, Kate, and I do love to ask all my guests this. Tell me what you love about higher ed.
For me, I just love, I went to Purdue. Purdue's my alma mater, so it's such a special place for me to go back to campus and see how campus has changed and grown and all of these young people and the excitement and the innovative things that we're doing on campus and being a part of that community. That's what I love about being in higher ed personally.
Thank you. Yeah, and I got an opportunity to check out some of the episodes you recommended last time we spoke. And yeah, super interesting. I think one was around the telescope you have on campus. And I'm not even try and say a lot of the things that happened on the podcast, but it was so interesting and amazing what you got going on campus. I'd love for you to start us off by telling us a little bit about your journey into your role. And I have a quote here around from broadcast to podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and your journey?
Yes, absolutely. So I graduated from Purdue in 2012, and I went into the news world. So I was working in a newsroom. I wanted to be a reporter. I wanted to eventually become an anchor, and I fulfilled some of those dreams. And I moved up to Indianapolis and worked at a news station there. So I was in two different newsrooms, but a lot of my broadcast journalism skills have really transferred to podcasting. So that has been really fun to see. At the time when I left news, I thought that I was going to be kind of done with that video and that storytelling career. And now here I am, we're doing a lot of video with the podcast. And of course, my whole role is about storytelling and telling the incredible things that are happening at Purdue. So, my start was in broadcast journalism. I absolutely loved being in the newsroom and the fast-paced and the deadline-driven environment, and every day was different. So, again, though, it mirrors a lot of what I do at Purdue. Every day is different here as a podcaster.
Definitely. And for those of you who are not sure what This is Purdue is, can you tell us a little bit about what is This is Purdue, just from the beginning?
Sure. So This is Purdue is the official university podcast. We tell stories, between our professors, our president has been on the show. We've had athletics coaches, Big Ten, Purdue, we love our sports. So we've had Matt Painter on, Katie Gerald's our women's basketball coach. We're always celebrating the different athletics, that Boilermaker spirit. But we're also telling stories about what kind of research and innovation is being done on campus, what our students are doing, what our alumni, we had the president of Pizza Hut is a Purdue alumni. So we caught up with him and asked him, how did your Purdue experience translate into you leading this massive pizza chain? So we've had some really incredible guests. The podcast was actually started by a grad student right before the pandemic. And then they really bought into this belief of podcasting to share these stories. And they hired me full time in March of 2021. So we have really grown the podcast with our video strategy, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but putting the podcast on YouTube. A lot of people that I run into will say, oh, I saw your podcast or I saw this interview on YouTube. So we're meeting our audience, where they are when it comes to our YouTube strategy. But really, it's just a premier place to find and hear and watch Boilermaker stories.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure a lot of these things have changed throughout the journey since the podcast launched before the pandemic, but what are some of the goals that you're trying to accomplish now with the podcast?
Yeah, so obviously in our, pandemic world, it was a lot of virtual interviews like this, right? And so even when I first started, it was we used Riverside, this platform as well. It was all virtual.
Right.
And then I remember we interviewed our previous president, who was also the governor of Indiana. And we really wanted that video content. It was special that he was coming on the episode. A lot of people knew him. A lot of people in Indiana obviously knew him from his role prior to being the president of Purdue. So that was our first video interview, and from there it it just really expanded and grew. Because we realized we can atomize all this video content from the podcast. So we can take, those clips and put them onto YouTube and put them onto social media. And what's the catchiest thing that we can get to entice people to listen to the whole episode? So our video, as video strategy is always evolving anyway, right? But that video element really took the podcast to another level. So, we recently in January of this year started our own YouTube channel. That was part of our new strategy. So we were originally posting under Purdue's official channel, which of course has a lot more followers than building your own from scratch. But within 9 months, we had 2.5 million views from January, to this fall. So again, taking those trends and making YouTube shorts and taking Instagram reels and repurposing them. Again, taking social clips and repurposing those for, longer content to even, a 59-second clip that will tell you a very brief synopsis about what the episode's about. So that YouTube growth we're really proud of. And that's one of our goals, is to just keep growing those channel views and also the subscribers on YouTube as well.
That's fantastic. You said 0 to 2.5 million subscribers in 9 months, or views in 9 months. That's insane.
Yep.
And forgive me for not researching this before this, but what other schools have launched an official podcast?
No, well, really from my research, we're the only Big Ten school who has this, storytelling podcast. A lot of other universities I see have, a daily 5-minute what's in the news type of podcast. Athletics, a lot of schools have athletics podcast or specific basketball, specific football shows. But from what I see, we are backed. Again, I'm part of the marketing and communications core branch at Purdue. So I'm not just representing a certain school or department within Purdue. It's all encompassing. So that's why we get to range, topics from what our scientists are doing, what engineers are doing, to, again, our athletics and former, professional athletes we've had on the show. So it's a great variety that we're able to capture being, this official university podcast. But it's some pressure too, right? You have to live up to the Purdue brand standards
Right.
and the incredible brand that Purdue has built. So yeah, from my research, I don't see any other schools doing quite what we're doing. I'm sure some of them have podcasts, but the level of our video execution again, and the social media strategy that we have, the distribution strategy. I'm really proud that Purdue is one of the few, if not maybe the only one that's doing that right now.
That's fantastic. And I love the word you used earlier, which is atomize. I was like, I think I know what she means by that, but it's like repurposing content, right? I love how you've kind of conscripted that word, especially given Purdue's background too. So that's fantastic. Why do you think it's so hard to launch an official podcast? I know, like you mentioned, I've talked to schools with athletics podcasts, with specific podcasts. Maybe the business school has one as well. Is it because of this pressure, or is it because it's hard to create a strategy around content? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of different things, but what we do well with This Is Purdue is that we are working with our campus partners at the business school, at the College of Engineering, the School of Education, right, to distribute all of this content. So they don't, we'll interview the people and we'll do all this work, but if you just share it on your, social media accounts, in your newsletters that you're sending out to your alum, That's how we've grown the show and grown that brand recognition. So to me, it's kind of like we'll do the work of this high caliber podcast, but if you just work with us to share it, and so many of them do, and we see such great results from these specific schools and campus partners sharing it. And granted, there are some podcasts within the Purdue sphere, but again,
Right.
they'll just focus on one topic, whereas we have the freedom to, have a little bit more creativity within who we talk to, the stories that we get to tell. So that's been exciting for sure.
One key theme that comes up a lot in the guests I interview is around, siloed departments and the need to communicate more with different departments and collaborate. Do you think this podcast has been a tool that wasn't anticipated, but to connect better with departments from a marketing communication standpoint?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've really just elevated our marketing and our branding, like I've said, in the past couple years. And they trust us. They see the content that we're putting out into the world and know that it's good, and they get great feedback. So again, it's kind of like, here's this silver platter of the exact social copy you can use, the graphics that are so well branded and fit within that Purdue brand standards. And, here's this copy for your newsletter. It's all, written and done and there for them to use. So I think it's a really nice touch to, and over the years, we've gotten to know the different communicators within all of these campus partners too. So that's been fun. And just giving them a heads up, like, hey, we have this great, business school alum coming on, and we're going to tell their story, and can you please share it? And here's the date, and here's all the details. So it's been really nice to work with our campus partners in collaboration for sure.
Definitely. I think this kind of goes as a perfect segue into my next question, which is around distribution, right? I struggle personally to distribute this podcast. I try my best to get it on LinkedIn, get whoever's on the guests to reshare and repost, and really try and get the word out and the value out as much as I can, and try to work with maybe some other higher ed marketers that may have newsletters or something. But it's a tough job, right? How have you really been able to double down on distribution? Because I think this is the hardest part about creating content is distribution. Can you tell us a little bit more about?
I agree. It's tough. A lot of times you're left wondering why the guest never shared it. So I have a few tips there as well, but really the team comes together, and what we do is we create this distribution plan. And so while I'm listening back to the interview and writing the script, I'm paying attention to who the guest is referencing. Are they referencing certain people? Are they referencing certain companies, businesses? Where do they currently work if they're an alumni? You mentioned the James Webb Space Telescope. A professor of ours is working on that with NASA. So of course we're sending this episode and all of the assets to NASA, tagging NASA in our social posts, hoping that they'll reshare and spread the word too. So just listing out anything that the guest, mentions. If they're an alumni from, College of Engineering, we're sending it to our campus partners within engineering, right? And so again, having them share it on their channels, their newsletters. We work really closely with our alumni association, Purdue for Life. They're putting things and linking things in their newsletter, which goes out to hundreds of thousands of alums, their social channels. So again, having that communication and that great relationship with our campus partners. Another tip that I've found is if the guest works at Pizza Hut or a major company, send it to that company's social team. Because while the guest might be too humble or not have time to share it, that company's social team might take it and run with it. And 9 times out of 10, they do. So again, tagging people on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, kind of finding them where they are. Pizza Hut shared it on LinkedIn. They were sharing it a lot, favoriting things on Twitter because they're on there a lot. So kind of researching to where these companies or these guests share when it comes to their social channels is definitely a big tip too.
That's fantastic. Yeah, those are some really good tips. And I think sharing with the social team, especially is awesome. Cause yeah, I can see some, I don't know. I don't know if I want to share that on my profile, but if you send it to the social team, like that's literally their job and what they do. And I think they would love extra content to share, especially if it's third party, but also like positive promotion. It's a great
Right.
idea.
Absolutely.
And, this kind of, all of these conversations kind of go back to my main question is, do you think an institution should start an official university podcast? And I know there's a huge range of schools, right? There's small schools, bigger schools like yours. What are your thoughts on this?
I really think anyone at any company, any institution can benefit from a podcast. It's such a different way to tell a story. You're not staring at a screen. You can do it when you're walking your dog, when you're doing chores, when you're commuting, on a road trip, on a plane. You can download episodes. So it's just such a great way to hear stories. It's different from reading a 3-minute article. It's different from watching a 60-second social clip. You can hear the nostalgia in their voices, the excitement, maybe some sadness, happiness. You can hear all of that in these stories. And with the video strategy, of course, you can watch it as well. But, and I want people to know too, you don't have to start with this big grand production. You can start with a team of a few people. Maybe one of your writers is interested in podcasting, and instead of writing an article that month, they try a podcast interview. And you don't have to have, a weekly podcast, right? You can start it monthly. You can start, maybe you have a season of 5 episodes and they drop all at once, and then you wait a couple months and then you drop some more. But don't be scared of the time commitment and the team members. You don't need to start off with a huge video strategy on YouTube or this huge social strategy. Start off small and you can always grow from there. And if you see the metrics and KPIs and success, then that might be more of a chance to grow that team or grow into a full-time role of being a podcaster. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. But again, if you start small, try it out, and why not, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, isn't that kind of the roots of how you said a grad student started This Is Purdue, right? In early 2020, like you weren't making these full studio lighting YouTube videos back then, right? It was, you said, started out from Riverside and doing these virtually at the start, right?
Right. And our initial goals, I mean, the first year we grew 388%, but that was just focusing on listens on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we had a small team, but, as it grew, like we have a full-time dedicated designer that does all of our graphics. We have an incredible video team of multiple people who are setting up for these fantastic interviews with 3 different camera angles and editing the video after the fact, atomizing that video into a 2-minute clip and then a 30-second clip. So we have a lot of pieces and parts. We have a social team, but it didn't necessarily start, with all of this manpower and all of these team members. It really grew. And now it's its own team within our core department. So it's been really exciting to see the growth, but it also didn't happen overnight, right?
Right. I mean, it's 3 years, literally 3 years. So
yes,
that's fantastic.
Yes.
Do you share like video? So I know there's a big video strategy now. Do those video like shorts also get shared on like Instagram handles for the official school, or is there a separate Instagram handle for This Is Purdue?
No, that's a great question. We facilitate all of our social media goes out on our Life at Purdue channels, which has combined, over 1 million people following. So you have, the backing of our official Purdue accounts. And so we've just, put our social strategy into there. But we will kind of, like I said, repurpose. If we have an Instagram reel, we'll put that onto as a YouTube short and switch up the copy and switch up how we're posting it. But really, if you're there and you have this video content and we have a social team member come to our interviews and shoot things on her phone, and we have like a whole strategy before the interview of,
wow,
here's a trend that we're going to do. Here's what we're going to ask We have the Mitch Daniels School of Business. We just did an interview with the dean of that business school who's new.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a whole plan of what we're going to ask him. So we're going to ask him 3 questions, and we want him to answer these high complexity topics within 30 seconds. And so we asked him about inflation. We asked him about gas prices. We asked him about like the debt deficit and what's going on in the business world when it comes to all 3 of those things. And then we'll do some fun post-production, like add a timer to it to see how fast he could answer, So we had a whole strategy going into the interview, which of course makes you feel a lot more comfortable if you go in with a plan, right? So
Yeah.
We always go in with a plan, and that's thanks to our social and our YouTube team who are scouting out the trends and trying to see,
Mm-hmm.
what we can do before heading into that interview to set us up for success later.
I'm learning a lot right now. I'll be very honest, I don't do this much planning. So like a couple things I've learned: content planning for types of different platforms, right? That's what you just talked about.
Yep.
The example you gave is great for shorts or like Instagram reels. But also like the distribution planning, like how are we going to distribute this? Who can we contact? These are all great ideas that I am just literally learning right now. So this is fantastic. How do you come up with the content that you want to talk about, right? Like you have all these stories going on campus. Like where do you start in terms of like, I'm just trying to launch my first podcast for the school. Like where do you start, and how have you learned over time about what to cover?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, if you look back, it is fun to look back at the episodes that we were doing, 2 years ago
Right.
versus the episodes we're doing now. A great example of that is we launched like a mini series under our This is Purdue umbrella. It's called our research series. And so we're highlighting Purdue faculty, professors who are, doing this innovative, world-changing research within Purdue. And so we're taking that really heavy focus that Purdue has on STEM and kind of bringing that to life through these episodes. So whereas 2 years ago, we were maybe interviewing maybe some student organizations or some different alumni and things like that, which we still do, but we've really taken that, like, why is Purdue world-class in education and in STEM, and taken that to the podcast to tell those stories through that. A lot of times the content comes from our campus partners, again, having that great relationship, having them come to us and say, hey, this alumni just got, nominated for this award, or this alumni just got a promotion within NASA, and trying to reach out to those people and get that conversation going to feature them on the podcast. And sometimes it just trickles down from the top and what our leadership wants to hear and see more of. So again, we also try to distribute evenly amongst, engineering, education. Our College of Liberal Arts has some incredible alumni that we've featured. Athletics, because people love athletics episodes. Those are always some of our most popular.
Right.
So we want to give the listeners what they want to. So it's a variety of different ways that we find these stories. But the great part is there's no shortage of stories at Purdue, and there never will be. So it's good for job security.
That's fantastic. That's great though. But yeah, it sounds like what I'm hearing is, make friends, make campus partners, and, don't be scared to cover a story, because you never know what's going to pick up. Being a marketer myself, like I hypothesize what's going to happen, but I'm never always right about what story is going to really take off. I think we talked about this before about like maybe your episode on I think silicon chip making, and it really took off, and that was like one unexpected result.
That was our first episode of our research series, was about semiconductors. And so to someone like me who is a liberal arts grad, I'm like, oh, this is like really complex. This is I knew it was a big deal, and I knew Purdue was leading the innovation and the way for some of this semiconductor education and research, et cetera. But the fact that the episode took off and like people are reaching out, hey, I heard that Purdue's doing this in semiconductors through this podcast, that was an incredible highlight. And again, showing that research series that we branched out with really was a success.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I need to listen to that episode. So that's next on my list from This is Purdue. I'm excited to listen to that one. We're just about at time here today. And, it's been amazing talking to you from one podcaster to another. It's been great learning about everything that you do, and also the crazy amount of production that you have to go into it. So I'm happy I can just do this on my own. But yeah, this has been awesome. I'm wondering where our listeners could reach out to you and learn more about what you're up to as well.
Yes, so you can find the podcast, more importantly, at purdue.edu/podcast. And so just take a listen, check out one of our research series episodes and check out one of our normal episodes and kind of see the difference that we've built into that series. And there's different music, there's different graphics, there's different sound effects. There's a little bit different production work that goes into those. So check that out. Again, you don't have to start at that level, but it's good to compare. Like I said, maybe listen to an athletics episode that's more kind of hype and a little bit more fun and spirited, and then a more serious one like our research series. But you can find me. I'm on Twitter, or X now, I suppose, Kate M. Young. And you can email me. You can find me on Purdue's website if you have any questions. And I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to shoot me an invitation to connect or a message.
Thank you so much, Kate. Thanks again for joining.
Thank you. It was a blast. Thank you.